Abbott's Wood here, guys. So, Abbott's Wood contemplates determinism and free will. And to start with the end, I'm a firm believer in free will. I think most of the people that I observe or pay attention to, who are bothered by these sorts of discussions, are either determinists or they call compatibilists. So someone like Sam Harris would be a determinist and doesn't believe in any free will, and Dan Dennett will be a compatibilist and would recognise the nature of determinism, but I think there's scope and space within all of that anyway for an element of free will. I accept determinism in the realm of physics, but not in the realm of human psychology and biology. And the reason for that is simply this. In the most extreme form of determinism, Sapolsky is the arch exponent of this. Everything about your decision making and your actions is, in a sense, predetermined or pre-wired on the basis of causation. Every effect has a cause, kind of thing. So even from the state of your mother's womb to what she ate or drank, or if she took drugs, has an impact on how you all turn out. And once you follow this causal chain, it becomes impossible to think outside of it in terms of arriving at a point where you make a decision which is not in some way, shape or form, it's not predetermined, determined by all the antecedents, all the stuff that went on before you got to make that decision. And the classical way of approaching this is to look at decision making and to think about, could you have decided otherwise? You woke up this morning and you had a cup of coffee. You could have had a cup of tea or a drink of water, but you had the coffee, and I think Sapolsky or Sam Harris would go into that by going backwards in time to arrive at a conclusion that, to all intents and purposes, your decision to choose the coffee was already set out. I think that's a fairly accurate reflection, kind of still manning of the determinist position, though you could go into it in much greater depth, but I ain't gonna, because my argument against it is really quite simple. And it's not the the classical I choose to raise my hand, or I choose to stroke my beard, which is the line adopted by some of the compatibilists. It's much simpler than that in some ways, but also I think more, in my view, and I'll come into a deeper explanation of it later on, more of a drop down argument in favour of free will. And this is it. We have a biology, and we have a psychology, and we have a culture. And within the realm of human experience, we are constantly, and I do mean constantly, reinventing, rediscovering, repurposing what it is to be human. I don't believe we could do that without free will. In other words, there's nothing in our antecedent conditions, nothing in our past, nothing in our biological determination, nothing in our existence in our mother's womb, nothing in the physical determination of causality that leads us to invent, discover, create new things, things that didn't exist before, that exist now. From the plough to the machine gun to the atom bomb to social media to iPads to Zeppelins, things that had no existence outside of the human imagination. And the human imagination, for me, and its potential, cannot be explained on the basis of cause and effect. There's no obviously singular cause for why we should imagine things beyond what we currently can see or conceive or articulate. And there may be a multiplicity of different causes, and you might argue, if you're stuck within the rut of determinism, that there has to be some kind of causation for the creation of imagination, but I don't believe there is. I think this is another classic example of taking something from one domain, cause and effect, and transposing it into another domain, creativity, imagination, discovery, and invention, and it doesn't apply. The things that account for, I don't know, speed of light, expansion of the universe, quantum mechanics, whatever, may have determinate qualities, but the composition of a sonata by Mozart or Beethoven doesn't. Those things, creativity, I believe, are the product of a will which is free insofar as it has to operate within the rules of physics. Obviously, you can't fly, you can't live without food and water. But those things are, if you like, the context in which the imagination can be given free rein. And in my judgment, imagination, creativity, and invention are the absolute counter to the idea that we don't have free will.